America is having a birthday. Birthday number 250. What am I bringing to the party? The top 25 heavy metal songs ever created from America. Next. Welcome, metal enthusiasts, to another celebratory episode of The Metal Dude Abides. We're on our second week of celebrating America. America, as I said in the opener, 250 years old, the 4th of July. And so we decided to put together two specials. One, the top 25 heavy metal albums produced by American bands. We did that one last week. Go check it out. And tonight, the top 25 heavy metal songs of all time, written again by American bands. Now, I was noticing something. We have a lot of people in the country for the World Cup, and I see a lot of people being in awe of these new stadiums we have everywhere, of all the wonderful food we have in America. But what is our greatest export? Heavy metal, of course. So without further ado, let's talk about the top 25 songs in heavy metal history that have been produced by American bands. The rules of this list are very simple. First and foremost, this is the top 25 heavy metal songs of all time, but it also includes hard rock. I'm a big tent heavy metal hard rock combined. Secondly, one song per band. We don't want to sit here and talk about 12 Metallica songs. Every band gets one song, no exceptions. And finally, I have attached a playlist of excerpts from the best albums and along this list, the best songs. So after you've watched the video, feel free to plug in that playlist and celebrate American metal. Finally, hey, if you've got a top 10, if you've got a top 20, if you've got a top 250 heavy metal albums and songs, put it in the comments below. I would love to hear your ideas for what the best all-time metal is. Now, without further ado, let's get to the list. Coming in at number 25, Ministry, with their classic NWO. Mrs. Metal Dude wouldn't forgive me if I didn't have this on here. One of her favorite metal songs of all time. Ministry is one of those bands that has just taken industrial metal to a whole new level. They've got several good songs, but I would say clearly their best song, NWO. And if you're so inclined, had a hilarious video to go with it. Kind of a scathing political commentary about the New World Order. All complete with a big puppet of George Herbert Walker Bush running around uttering the words New World Order. So let's get this party started off right. NWO, Ministry. Coming in at number 24, Avenged Sevenfold with Hail to the King. Now there's going to be a running theme throughout this whole video because some bands, like the one we just got through with Ministry, kind of has a defining song. Everybody kind of agrees this is their best song. But there's going to be several bands on this list that have a number of great songs. Avenged Sevenfold kind of falls into that category. Well, I picked my favorite, Hail to the King. It's just got that iconic guitar opener that every time those opening riffs hit, you're like, you know it's going to be special. Love me some Hail to the King. Love me some Avenged Sevenfold. Once again, several great songs to choose from, but I think this one is the absolute best. Coming in at number 23, the first band to make both of our lists, Halestorm, with their song, Familiar Taste of Poison. Halestorm's another one of those bands where you look through their catalog and you have so many great hits to choose from. I fell in love with Halestorm with their song, It's Not You. They won a Grammy Award for Love Bites, and so do I. And maybe their biggest hit? I Miss the Misery. But I think that this song, the vocals that Lizzie puts together on this song, unbelievable. And you'll also see this a few times on the list. They also have an amazing video that accompanies this song. Their video is like a crime scene. Lizzie's been murdered, and they go about trying to solve the mystery. And it is really well done. One of the better videos, especially in modern day. So if you haven't heard this song, go all the way back to the beginning of Hailstorm, but also check out the video. It is cinematic perfection. Coming in at number 22, another band that's made both lists, Metal Church, with their song, Watch the Children Pray. If you watched last week, you would know I love the first era of Metal Church with David Wayne as the singer. Really love his vocals, and those first two albums are sensational. And the crown jewel of those two, Watch the Children Pray. So eerie, so spooky. Really love this song. But ironically enough, I almost went one album forward to the Mike Howe era. I love the song Badlands. I love the bass line in that song so very, very much. Bottom line is, whether you go back to the David Wayne era, whether you go to the Mike Howe era, there are great songs throughout the entire Metal Church catalog. So go back and check out both eras. You're going to find some great songs across the way. Coming in at number 22, Mastodon with their classic Sleeping Giant. I think this is one of those difficult choices because Mastodon has several great songs to choose from. They are putting out banger album after banger album after banger album throughout the early 2000s. So why did I pick Sleeping Giant? Simple. It has such beautiful, intricate guitar intro on this. Really sets it apart from the rest of the catalog. Plenty of good ones to choose from. I'm going with Sleeping Giant. Coming in at number 21, Rage Against the Machine with their song Sleep Now in the Fire. Now, this selection might catch a few people by surprise because I'm notoriously anti-nu metal. I'm notoriously anti-rap sounding metal. But sometimes it's just too good. This has some of the most infectious beats you're ever going to hear in a metal song. Love this song to death. Whenever this song would come on the radio, you had to watch your speed in the car because, boy, it would get you going. Not a huge fan of Rage Against the Machine, but boy, when they hit all the way. Number 21, Sleep Now in the Fire. Coming in at number 20. This might be a little bit of a hot take, but I'm going with System of a Down, Question. System of a Down has so many big hits to choose from. I think their biggest hit is Chop Suey. I love the soaring, haunting vocals and melodies of Aerials. And who doesn't love Toxicity? But my favorite System of a Down song, and it's not even close, is right here, Question. I love the crescendo in this song. It just keeps going faster and faster and faster till you think your head's going to explode. But the payoff is fantastic. So, great songs all around, but Question is definitely the best. Coming in at number 19, Deftones, Tempest. If you've been following the channel, just got through talking about the best Deftones songs of all time, so this is probably no surprise. I think this is the absolute pinnacle of Deftones. What you have here is Chino's vocals, just as haunting as ever. And you also have Stefan's guitar riffs, kind of giving you this kind of swirling, encompassing kind of sound. It's almost like you're in the eye of the storm, being pummeled by these guitar riffs, being pummeled by Abe's drumming. And then Chino's just kind of lifting you through the eye of the storm. You're just levitating through this as this tempest surrounds you. If you're not all that familiar with the Deftones catalog and you want to try one song, try this one. It is an absolute classic. Coming in at number 19, Deftones, Tempest. Coming in at number 18, Queensryche, Take Hold of the Flame. Wow. Trying to find one Queensryche song among all the others is so hard to do. So many classic eras, so many classic albums, so many great songs. But at the end of the day, I think I picked this one just because this is the classic Geoff Tate, Hold On. You know, there's a reason why there's these reaction videos out there pointing to this song, because he hits some notes in this song that are amazing. They not only do this song in the studio version, but they also do like a live version of it. Amazing stuff. Geoff Tate's vocals, one of the greatest American metal vocalists. Coming in at number 17. This was a tough one for me. Manowar, Warriors of the World. Here's why this one's tough for me. I have a favorite Manowar song, Violence and Bloodshed. The vocals and the intensity on that song, unbelievable. So I'm going to give it a shout out. But I would be lying if I didn't say that Manowar has one of those songs that they're closely associated with. If you ask people about Manowar, they're going to point you right here to Warriors of the World, one of the most popular songs worldwide. It is the classic power metal tale of a warrior going off to battle, doesn't know if he'll return. He's giving his instructions to his loved ones before he goes off. It is absolutely fantastic. So at the end of the day, and it's probably my second favorite song of theirs. So at the end of the day, do I go with my favorite or do I go with the classic? I went with the classic, Warriors of the World. Coming in at number 16, Wasp, Wild Child. This is one of those where there was two songs under heavy consideration. The first is a song called Mean Man off the Headless Children album. That was a song that lead singer Blackie Lawless dedicated to his guitarist, Chris Holmes. Really came close to picking that one. But at the end of the day, I had to go with Wild Child. What an infectious chorus. What a sensational song. You know, Blackie Lawless, the lead singer for Wasp, has some of the best vocals you're ever going to hear. Their first two albums were just hit after hit after hit, and none better than Wild Child. Coming in at number 15, power metal titan Savatage with their album Hall of the Mountain King. Now, this is kind of the first band that had the album Hall of the Mountain King get nominated last week, and hear the song, the title track, Hall of the Mountain King, being put on the list for best songs. I just love this song. If you're a big fan of J.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit, this really talks about Oakenshield. This talks about the king under the mountain and how he's gone into under the mountain, and he's just getting that gold fever and insanity starts to take in. What a sensational song. Love it. Love John Oliva's voice on this. One of his best vocal performances. Of course, his brother Chris has a sensational guitar riff in here. One of the all-time best power metal songs you're ever going to hear. Hall of the Mountain King. Coming in at number 14, the Zombie Man, Rob Zombie with his classic Dragula. Rob Zombie had some amazing hits with White Zombie. He's had some amazing hits as a solo artist. Hell, he's had some collaborations with other artists that were sensational. But to me, the peak of Rob Zombie's powers is right here with Dragula. One of the most catchy songs you're ever going to hear across the entire metal spectrum. Because we're going to dig through the ditches and burn through the witches. Dragula. Coming in at number 13, Machine Head with their song Locust. Here's another band that has many great songs across many different eras of the band. I've talked about Machine Head before because I think they're a little bit of a controversial band these days, because it seems like they have 2 or 3 albums that are great, then they kind of have 2 or 3 albums that are stinkers, then they have 2 or 3 albums that are great. So it depends on where you entered into the Machine Head catalog. I know that it took me a while to find their good stuff. I went in, tried a couple of albums, and I was like, I don't see what the appeal is. But once I found this album, and once I found this song, I became hooked. There's a couple of really great Machine Head songs, but my favorite all the way, Locust. Coming in at number 12, in my humble opinion, America's greatest metal vocalist, Ronnie James Dio, with the song Rainbow in the Dark. For those who know, I'm a huge Dio fan, and picking one song was very difficult. And this song has an interesting story because it almost didn't happen. When Dio was putting together the album Holy Diver, he thought, maybe Rainbow in the Dark's a little too commercial for what we're going for. But the band convinced him otherwise. Jimmy Bain says, no, we've got to put it in there. And it has become a classic. Great guitars from Vivian Campbell, and just the right amount of keyboards make this an all-time great. Coming in at number 11. Speaking of great American metal voices, Disturbed with The Vengeful One. Disturbed is one of those interesting bands where it seems like every album they put out at least one classic heavy metal song. On this album, in fact, there's two great songs. Many people might put The Sound of Silence right here. Unless you've been living under a rock, you would know that Disturbed put together a cover of the old Simon and Garfunkel song and knocked it out of the park. I mean, they were on late night television doing this song. It has been a viral sensation. But my favorite is The Vengeful One. I have my playlist on Spotify. This song was on every playlist I owned. I kind of burned myself out on this song. I burned my family out on this song. Love, love, love. And again, David Dreyer's vocals on this are fantastic. So if you've only heard The Sound of Silence, just same album, go listen to The Vengeful One, my all-time favorite. All right, before we get into the top 10, let's do some honorable mention. What I've strung together here is most of these songs that I'm putting together are absolute classics. These are more personal favorites that maybe haven't hit commercially or they're kind of on the underground, but all are tremendous. So this is kind of my own little personal favorites list. Armored Saint, Chemical, Euphoria. I love John Bush's vocals. I loved Armored Saint. You know, it's one of those bands that there was several that were under consideration, but I love Chemical Euphoria. I always refer to it as Armored Saint's Master of Puppets. Y&T, Midnight in Tokyo. If you go back to the early days of Y&T, they are an absolute hit machine, and my absolute favorite, Midnight in Tokyo. Another band really low on the radar, King Cobra with the sensational Mean Street Machine. You want to get up and move. I believe, in fact, this song was used in a video game, Grand Theft Auto, so it may have hit your radar and you're like, I wonder who made this song. King Cobra. Go check it out. More of a softer song, but an emotionally packed song. Breaking Benjamin was So Cold. What a great, a lot of these you'll see, great vocal performance. Pretty Reckless, Follow Me Down. This is one of my guilty pleasure bands. I have always had a soft spot for Pretty Reckless. I think they have some really great songs. And this one has a little bit of an erotic feel that I've always liked. Talking about great vocal performances. This is not one of their big hits. But Soundgarden has a song called Slaves and Bulldozers that I think is Chris Cornell's crown jewel of his vocal prowess. If you want to see the range that Chris Cornell had and the power that Chris Cornell had in his voice, go check out Slaves and Bulldozers. Thrice with their song Black Honey. I've talked about songs with great guitars. I've talked about songs with great vocals. I love the lyrics of Black Honey. Could be my life story. Just saying. Love that song. And finally, a song that we were talking about Rainbow in the Dark almost not making an album. This is another song that almost didn't make this album. Beartooth, Rock is Dead. It was on the cutting room floor. The producer actually convinced the band to put it on there. I was obsessed with this song, right up there with The Vengeful One. I think it's an all-time great. But like I said, almost didn't even exist. Beartooth, Rock is Dead. So those are just a few of my personal favorites. Let's get back to the top 10. Coming in at number 10, thrash metal legends Megadeth with Holy Wars, The Punishment Due. Wow, we're starting to hit a few of these bands. Like, how do I pick one Megadeth song? They have so many great songs to choose from. You've got the sassiness of Peace Sells. You've got the heavy riff of Wake Up Dead. You've got the absolute catchiness of Symphony of Destruction. But ultimately, I went with this song for one simple reason. I think this is the best guitar sound in the entire Megadeth collection. Marty Friedman, Dave Mustaine have never sounded better. The riff is great. The solo is amazing. So it stands out above the crowd, and it gets the pick here at number 10. Coming in at number 9, one of the catchiest metal songs of all time, Drowning Pool with their song, Bodies. Let the bodies hit the floor. Nothing wrong with me. This is maybe the ultimate earworm song in the history of heavy metal. Just so good. You'll notice sometimes when I do my videos, I wear an AEW shirt. They use this song for one of their recent pay-per-views, Anarchy in the Arena, where there's like people all over the arena fighting, and they're playing this song, and the crowd is going just frantic at this point. One of the all-time greats, Drowning Pool, Bodies. Coming in at number 8. One of the kings of groove metal, and maybe the grooviest of the bunch, Prong, Snap Your Fingers, Snap Your Neck. Oh boy, we just got through talking about Bodies. This might even another earworm song. Like, if this isn't an infectious riff that gets you going, I don't know what to tell you. You might want to go talk to your doctor, because this baby will get you moving. I don't know what's better, the chorus and the groove, or at the end of when he just says, cheers. Love this song to death. One of my all-time favorites. Snap Your Fingers, Snap Your Neck. Coming in at number 7, Five Finger Death Punch with their song, The Bleeding. Oh boy, here's another band with so many big hits. Like, I don't know that there's been a metal band this side of the 2000s that's had as many hits, because I picked The Bleeding here because I love the vocals and I love the intensity. But Over and Under It, very good. Lift Me Up with a little Rob Halford side action. I could go on and on. Five Finger Death Punch, one of the bands that just put out hit after hit. Kind of like Disturbed. You could count on every album having at least one or two absolute classics. Coming in at number 6, Slipknot, The Devil and I. Once again, how in the world can you pick one Slipknot song? They have put together so many big metal classics over the years. But I have a soft spot for The Devil and I. Cute family story, I suppose, but one day my daughter's going out in the backyard, and Mom is watering her flowers. And as you know, if you're a gardener, you got to talk to your plants. They won't grow if you don't talk to them. Well, my daughter went out to the backyard. My wife is watering the plants, and she's just singing away to The Devil and I. And the plants loved it. So this might be not only one of the best heavy metal songs of all time for humans, but Mrs. Metal Dude's Roses love them as well. We talked a little earlier about groove metal. Well, the band that put groove metal on the map, the undisputed heavyweight champion of groove metal, Pantera with Cemetery Gates. Ooh, how do you pick one Pantera song? Again, I'm going to have to at least talk about two here. I went with Cemetery Gates because I just think it's absolutely the best. What an emotionally charged semi-ballad. Really the first time you really catch the great guitars of one Dimebag Darrell, rest in peace. But the other one is This Love. I almost went with This Love. They're 1 and 2. They're always going to be, to me, there's two Pantera songs that soar above the rest. I love the maniacal singing of one Phil Anselmo. I tell this story all the time. They have the heaviest chorus in the history of heavy metal. When they break into this chorus, you just want to punch someone in the face. I was at Red Rocks, Colorado. They played this song live, and people were moshing across the stone steps wherever they could because they couldn't help themselves. It's infectious. So This Love came close. But at the end of the day, I had to go with Cemetery Gates. Coming in at number 4, You Know Where You Are. You're in the jungle, baby. You're gonna die. The immortal words of one Axl Rose. Welcome to the jungle, Guns N' Roses. Late 80s, hair metal was starting to get a little predictable, starting to get a little soft. Guns N' Roses showed up and changed the game. I will say right off the bat, this is the best vocal performance in the history of Axl Rose. And the guitar riff here by Slash, one of his best as well. This song just absolutely tore it up and is probably a staple to every arena in the United States. Every football game, you're going to hear Welcome to the Jungle. And once again, similar to a couple other songs that we heard, interestingly enough, Appetite for Destruction is produced, but it doesn't go anywhere. And so at the point, they were one of the first bands that David Geffen had signed to his record label, and he keeps pushing MTV and he keeps pushing the radio stations. Play this. This is going to be good. It doesn't do anything. About a year, maybe even a year and a half later, Sweet Child of Mine finally hits, and this thing goes into probably 20 some odd million sales after that, and Guns N' Roses becomes the biggest band on the planet at the time. So this almost was an underground hit, if you can believe that. Now, at the first of this episode, I said one song per band, but that doesn't exclude one song per singer. Coming in at number 3, Stone Sour with Gone Sovereign, Absolute Zero. That's right, everybody. Corey Taylor is going to make the list twice. One of the best heavy metal singers of all time. Of course, he has 2 bands, Slipknot, who showed up earlier with The Devil and I, and here with his other band, Stone Sour, Gone Sovereign, Absolute Zero. It's kind of a cheat code because I get to put 2 songs in here instead of 1 because technically they are 2 separate songs, but they go together. If you've ever played one without the other, you're missing the whole point of this. Put them both together, you'll be glad you did. The one thing I was always surprised at is I always thought with Corey that Slipknot was his main band and Stone Sour was his side band, when in fact Stone Sour was always Corey Taylor's main band and Slipknot, much more popular, was his side band. Kind of an interesting little nugget there. He started with Stone Sour, and this is, now we talked about all these bands with all these different songs to choose from. To me, Stone Sour, slam dunk. This is the pinnacle of their prowess. Coming in number 2, New York City metal legends Riot with their song Outlaw. For those of you who don't know, Riot had a tremendous album way back in the early 80s that, in my humble opinion, had 4 classic songs. I would go with Outlaw here, but I would have no quarrels putting Swords and Tequila right here. I would have no quarrels putting Fire Down Under right here. I would have no quarrels putting Altar the King right here. If you've never gone back and heard Riot, Fire Down Under, you have to go check that out. They are the most underrated band across this list. So why did I pick Outlaw? Well, first of all, again, it tells a great story. It kind of takes you back to the Old West, talks about the gambler, talks about the outlaw, and it talks about this bandito who's stolen all this gold and he's headed for the Mexican border, right? Now, what makes this song really great is at the end of it, the bandito has crossed the border and he's got himself some tequila and he's drinking and he's celebrating what he thinks is he got away with it. Little does he know there's a posse right on his tail coming to get him in. But while he's going off and talking, he's in this drunken celebratory, all in Spanish, by the way, you have one of the great underrated guitarists of all time, Mark Reale, just in the background shredding for like a minute. Go run. Don't walk. Run and go hear Outlaw by Riot. It'll make your top 10 list for sure after you've heard it. All right, if you're going to talk about the top 25 songs ever produced in America, number 1 has to be Metallica, One. All right, a little bit of a play on words, but I mean, One is a deserving song as well. Talk about intensity. Ooh. Talk about great guitar riffs. Talk about great drums. And we talked about this with a few songs earlier. The greatest heavy metal video of all time to accompany One. But puns on the list aside, while One is a great song, trying to just select the best Metallica song is very difficult. Personally, I think Fade to Black is their absolute best. That could easily be on here. Master of Puppets, probably their signature song. Recently, Stranger Things did a very great episode on that. Brought it all the way back into the charts, believe it or not. 30 years after it was put out the first time. You've got Creeping Death. A personal favorite, Sanitarium, Welcome Home. You have the big popular songs off the Black Album. Nothing Else Matters. The Unforgiven. But at the end of the day, let's finish up the list at number 1. Metallica. Best albums, best songs, best American export ever. They deserve to be at the top of the list. And that's our episode. We are here every Tuesday putting out fresh heavy metal content. We have just gone through going year by year talking about the best heavy metal throughout the 1900s. We will shortly start to make that ascent through the 2000s. So you don't want to miss any of this. So ring the bell, subscribe, and go have fun celebrating America's 250th birthday. Raise a toast to America and put on one of these great heavy metal classics. In the meantime, this is the Metal Dude signing off. Take care.